Hello and welcome back to the Fiction Game. I'm your host, as always, Jack, and with me are our four players, Sam, Hayden, Tom, and Miles. We're getting back into it. The last time we met, which actually was last week, we're getting together consistently every week, not just publishing episodes, but yeah, we're actually playing consistently. Which, if you've ever run a D&D party, you know why that's like a relevant and non-boring detail. That is truly the most outstanding thing that's happened in any campaign I've ever run. Just 3 weeks of consistently getting everyone together. Boy, that's a joke that only all people who are already big D&D fans are gonna get. That, anyways. Thanks for coming back.
I think those are the people that are actually going to care to watch this kind of thing.
So. That's fair. I don't know if anyone's like, well, I don't know about this D&D stuff, but 5 almost identical dudes in a voice call playing, like, that's what really interests me. What I've been missing is the Discord delays, because that's the difference between us and an in-person D&D podcast. Is just the minimum 3/4 of a second of simulated for you now. So, the last week, our players and some of their traveling companions and friends went on a demon hunt. They encountered a poor lonely soul named Tomas, who wanted to become a caster very badly. They gave him some advice, which ended with the soundest advice they could give him: get out. It's seriously time to leave. Then they encountered some bandits by the road who were waiting to steal half of a druidic artifact. There's some stuff to look into there, but mostly the Emerald Bandits just needed to leave, and you got there through the angelic powers combined of both Alberth and William. You were able to sort of charisma check this group of bandits into getting out of here. And then Merigold tortured one for a little bit, just psychologically. And then eventually, of course, there was a confrontation with the demon, which similarly ended with some sort of some magic from Merigold that may have broken the demon's brain just a wee bit. That was the last thing we saw, was the demon shrieking in its eldritch chthonic tongue as it fled back into the forest, screaming secrets that perhaps no one ought to know. We cut now to a room that you guys have been in before, or two of you, and we've seen before through narration. William and Grayson are newcomers to the royal chambers of the king and queen of the kingdom of Telmeri. Queen Resenda and King Telmeri both look down at you from their enormous thrones as Yasica, the leader of your party for this particular hunt, explains in great detail to Queen Resenda what went down. And then Yasica says, trying to encapsulate the strange end of the story, our mage here, Merigold, you met him. Yeah, our I'm not even sure what he did. Merigold, you explained this to me like 4 times on the ride back. Yasica is not a great wordsmith, and Elway is in the corner with her kind of characteristic chuckle at just anyone's most valiant attempts to do anything. And Yasica kind of gestures helplessly at Merigold, like, help me out. How do you explain what you did?
I forced it to reveal itself, and it didn't like that.
Yasica
says, fled.
Yeah, Yasica says, yeah, which I hadn't really planned on. I didn't bring like a horse that I could really chase it at speed with, because I've never had a demon run away from me before. Usually they're super down to kill anyone they interact with. So, especially an inheritor. So,
yeah. Slap sunglasses on.
Sunglasses do not exist. But I do imagine that Merigold has extremely nerdy-looking spectacles.
Yo, Alberth's next invention.
Hey, tinted spectacles, Alberth.
I
Seeing
imagine
that,
though that like, tinted windows exist, right? As far as like stained glass.
stained glass for sure. The stained glass spectacles. That could be. I could see Alberth coming up with that. Yeah. So yeah, Queen Resenda, her brow furrowed. She seems to be genuinely trying to understand. Do any of our more charismatic members, which I believe in some way or another is a term that applies to every one of your 4 characters. We've actually got a party of people with different charisma niches, and I think that's extremely cool. But does anyone jump in to aid Yasuka and try and make this sound more heroic or more convincing or just more presentable in any way? Or are you guys letting Yasuka's kind of plain bumbling approach lead how this is presented to the queen?
Merigold doesn't want to have to say more than he has to because the secrets associated with this could hold power. So he's happy to let Yasuka do it, but...
My question, actually, does this make the demon less powerful? Does that make Merigold more powerful just by knowing any of the secrets, or did we actually learn anything?
You guys did not learn anything, but I'm glad you asked, because as the demon shrieked in its eldritch tongue, which I believe only Grayson, from his backstory, and William from yesterday's session have heard the ancient chthonic tongue of demonkin. As it shrieked in this strange language, which none of you know, including Grayson, demon-oriented backstory notwithstanding, Merigold did sense that someone learned the demon secret, because Merigold draws great power from it.
Did my secrecy sense ping anything from, like, any party members?
No party members more than normal. There's the same aura of... Grayson just seems like he's just holding a knot of secrets. William seems like he's got a thing or two to say, and Yasuka's friend Lion, who was fully armored, another traveling companion with you, also has like an air of secrecy around them. But there were no statements in particular that pinged Marigold's spidey sense. So it was like, hey, that's not a complete truth.
Could I use my detect presence ward, I guess? I know we've left and we're in the courtroom now, but could I have done that?
I believe you had your presence ward active, because that's how you detected Elway, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
almost
right.
launched her into the sky.
Yeah. Okay, all good. Interesting.
So yeah, it wasn't anyone within 30 feet, but it was truly deafening to the point that Yasuka is doing that all too common sitcom trope where she's speaking way too loudly, and the king and queen are kind of leaning back in their chairs like, yeah, no, we can hear you. Yasuka does not seem to have noticed. And so kind of gesturing futilely and trying to express like what the demon was saying or what kind of mage powers blasted the outer layers of its mind off like a power washer, she kind of bumbles to a stop like, and that's everything that I remember in the order that I remembered it. Anyone got anything else to add? And the king and queen do look around, almost as if waiting for someone to like have a call to action at the end of this, or like a supreme point that they're willing to make.
I think Grayson is gonna hop in at this juncture just because he's seeing this is going poorly, and using demonic terminology that theoretically he probably knows, he's gonna try and make this sound as heroic as possible, considering the general vibe is not going well. But he'll acknowledge like, hey, I'm new here, sorry, but this is my take on it.
Right on. Roll me a charisma check, and we have a couple options for how you do this. You can do it so in Discord, but you'll also see that I've added to our online resource, thefictiongame.com, a little D20 in the top left that, let me maximize that on the screen for our viewers. But if you click that little dice symbol, it will actually roll a D20 and show you a random number from between 1 and 20, and then it'll disappear again, just in case you don't want to leave this tab. and we'll just operate on the honor system when you roll on this, because I do not have an internal like server log of what people from different IP addresses roll or something. This is like 4 lines of JavaScript. But go on. What do you do? Or what did you roll for your charisma check?
6. Let's go.
Solid. I'm gonna say if I were to put the very like abstract magic spells into a very concrete bonus, I'm going to say that Silver Tongue, Grayson's warlock charisma skill, counts as a +2 if you are just for all charisma checks, and it is doubled to a +4 if you are specifically trying to mislead someone. In this case, Grayson doesn't really see a way that he can deliberately mislead Queen Resenda into a false conclusion without it bringing Yasuka's attention to, like, what are you talking about? That's not what happened. So that flat +2 is as best you can get it. The 8 is, I'm going to say, better than Yasuka's equivalent charisma roll. And so you do kind of put a little bit of polish, a little bit of spin on what Yasuka is saying. Because basically what she's saying is, I heard about a demon hunt, so I got all my pals, chased it down myself, alerted it to our location, and then sent it shrieking into the woods without killing it and possibly angering it. In Grayson's experience with demons, they don't need to be angered to do great evil. However, that might not be the Queen's approach. The Queen doesn't give away anything about like what she thinks about the situation from her very like studied nonchalance. She simply nods attentively as you supplement Yasuka's story of what happened. And at the end, she says, "All right. Well, thank you for bringing this to my attention and for answering my summons so quickly. Myself and the king and the mayor," who she gestures to like a short mustached man in the corner, who you guys had likely not noticed before, because this royal chamber is like full of scribes, just like the Grand Hall of Baron Tiefley, and there's like a host of scribes marking down everything, especially if she says anything about, like, she's holding audience here, and so there's people in line behind you, there's people in pews on the sides of the hall, and she gestures to a large mustachioed man. Alberth has met this man a number of times, because Alberth, being now a prominent inventor with a workshop in the capital, has become quite the upwardly socially mobile kind of the brilliant inventor, and has met a number of the local nobility, including the mayor, who is a man that Alberth genuinely relates to, not just on status of short kingness alone, but also because being the mayor of a capital city where the throne is this weird in-between position where, like, you're in charge of the area, but not nearly as in charge as the other people who are in charge of the whole area and talk to a bunch of people like mayors and barons and dukes and stuff. Navigating royal title is very strange because the city is yours more specifically than the whole kingdom belongs to the crown, but they're definitely in charge of you. So the mayor's life, in your estimation, is this hectic game of like having to be in charge of the minutia, but needing to back off anytime the royalty disagrees with you, and they're right there over your shoulder at all times. So the brief discussions that you've had, you've greatly related to the mayor, and as the party looks over, noting the Queen's acknowledgement to the mayor, Grayson realizes that he recognizes this man and has worked with him before as a member of the Hand of the North.
Epic.
The man kind of locks eyes with you for just a fraction of a second longer than his general like sweeping over the thing, and gives no other acknowledgement as he continues to look around. I think Merigold, you get like a ping of that sense of secrecy, like someone's hiding something, someone's trying not to give something away. but being in this royal chamber of a bunch of people petitioning the king and queen, who you know from experience, or who you know from just general practical knowledge, would have to be greatly psychically trained, as all like royalty and sufficiently high-ranking nobility kind of have to be, so that wizards don't rule the world. This place is a maelstrom of secrecy and politicking and stuff, so there's no way Merigold can pinpoint, like, this person is now telling a lie that they weren't earlier. Despite Merigold's great strength in that awareness of secrecy, you kind of just detect a slight wind among the maelstrom. So, but the queen goes on, having just acknowledged the mayor for that brief moment. She says, well, of course, it is of utmost importance to the capital city and to the crown itself that we get rid of a danger so close to home. So, Yasika, being deeply trusted by myself and my retinue, and she gestures to behind her, her right hand, a taller woman that you guys haven't really had a lot of interactions with, and also Pater Ullman, who you still haven't really found out what's up with him, but there's sort of this forced, tense cordiality between all of you, and he nods very slightly without breaking eye contact with Merigold, the last person who had kind of tried to question him about some of his shadier dealings.
How long has it been since we fought the demon?
It's the same day. Yeah.
All right. I'm just thinking the last time that I tried to use compel indiscretion on Peter Ullman, it didn't work.
That's true.
But maybe later on we could try again.
Yeah. Unfortunately, your compel indiscretion cooldown has not come back, and you're not sure if you would be able to detect if it was coming back like piecewise or if it's like a switch flip, because you've never really had a cooldown this long. But yeah, compel indiscretion is certainly not a power that has returned to Merigold yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Queen Renala goes on, Yasika, being trusted by the throne and by my retinue, and of course being an inheritor, and your sworn foe being demons, correct? And Yasika nods and specifies, yes, I've sworn myself to the crusade against Hell's invasion, which, yes, demons are my sworn foe. And Queen Renala, Queen Resenda. Queen Renala is an Elden Ring character. Who am I? Queen Resenda nods and says, excellent, excellent. So, another royal appointment then. If you and your party here are willing to go on yet another royally appointed quest, we would love to equip you with everything you would need to hunt this demon. And Yasika nods and says, "That's very kind." She seems to be thinking through, like, I know the proper protocol for accepting like a royal appointment, because there's like noble protocol about this kind of thing, and she kind of clumsily like drops to one knee, and you can like almost see the gears working in her head where she goes, "I'm a woman, so a curtsy would be more appropriate than a bow, but I'm armored, and I think that takes priority, and like the bow was meant as a practicality for armor rather than a dress. I'm definitely not wearing a dress. I think I'll just bow." And so she bows like really deeply and for like a kind of uncomfortably long time, and then gets up and says, I humbly accept your yes, yeah, I'll do that. There are people I'd like to call in to make sure that we do this right. Other inheritors who have also sworn themselves to the crusade against Hell's invasion, and demon hunters of other factions. And she briefly glances at Grayson before moving on. She says, I'd like to gather a larger group than this to make sure that we can sort of pin this one down. Would that be all right? And Resenda, not sure, it's your jurisdiction, whatever you need. How long will it take for them to get there? Yasika thinks about it for a moment. She says, 3 weeks. Yeah. My people can be here 3 weeks. They're not too much of a horse ride away. For reference, 3 weeks is like a reasonably short time. That means they're within the kingdom and have access to horses and can get here pretty quickly. And as far as these things go, gathering a grand quest together, 3 weeks is a pretty reasonable time for startup costs. So it's not like she's being like, can we do this next month? I want to be clear. That time frame has more to do with the medieval reality than it does with, it's not like a postponement. And Queen Resenda nods in return and says, right then, in 3 weeks, regather your team. I will send a representative to give you the funds and equipment that you need from the crown. So I decree it. And that has a sort of like ritualistic air to it, like ceremonial, like she's declared it to be done. And everyone kind of nods and hurries to reshuffle. And unless you guys have anything else to say while you're in this royal throne room, you guys shuffle out of there with all the crowds. And the queen continues holding audience as more and more people funnel in. Right on. So, you guys have been given a promise of royal funds and royal equipment, something that's great news if you want to really get this done, get that demon hunted. And it sounds like Yasuka's calling in the cavalry. So, you'll be coming at this demon the next time with a much greater force. And until then, you guys have 3 weeks to pursue goals of your own. And so, unless you guys have specific character details that you'd like to speak with one another about, it is likely another 3 weeks before you interact with one another again. Except for, of course, Merigold and Alberth being friends, and if there's any other reason you might bump into each other. But what we have now for the rest of the session is a series of vignettes and open-ended goals that you guys can pursue on your character's own time. Using this new game token system. This is a new tool on the site that lets us, rather than boiling everything down to a single role, what we do is there's these little tokens that represent successes and failures that will essentially create a set of tokens that represents your chances to succeed at whatever it is you're doing, and then we will draw. If we ever draw this symbol, the double exclamation point, it is a critical modifier, which means draw another token, and it essentially doubles the last one. So you can get a critical success or a critical failure, or even a critical success. And the narrative consequences of what happens next will build based on that. And without further ado, we can get started on this. And talk about your different characters and what you are pursuing. It sounded like Hayden, you maybe had a question?
Yeah, I wanted to, because we know that the Emerald guys, the Emerald group, are going to be stealing a druid artifact. I wanted to know, like, if anybody else is interested in, like, maybe figuring out what to do about that, or has opinions about that even.
That sounds
was
like a
something
great idea.
that we had. They gave us information that's within the next 3 weeks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like
pretty
days that they were gonna. Yeah.
Yep. That's a great note, and it helps me bring up. I'm going to go through a couple of goals that you guys can pursue, for which I have like scripted events of what might happen if you succeed or fail at your pursuits here. But it's been left open-ended on purpose. So if there's anything else that you'd like to work on, like setting up an encounter or like sabotage of this group that's going to be attacking this caravan, then we can pursue any goal that you guys would like. And some of these goals are open-ended. So without further ado, let's talk about some of the goals. We're going to also be interspersed with little vignettes of there are plenty of characters who want to talk to you guys, to the newcomers, to the wealthiest inventor in the capital, to the heir to the House of McCarlin. There's you guys have generally lives outside of just the next quest. You guys have a lot going on, and so we're going to have this dotted with vignettes as well as you guys pursuing open-ended goals. And so, if you guys are ready, we will start with Miles and William. William, you are walking home one day from that sort of like RuneScape farming grace that we had talked about. How when you come to a new city, you use your awareness of grace to kind of build it over time and become more powerful in that aspect. And you are heading to a local inn where you found lodging when a group of shadowy figures falls into step not far behind you, something that you notice because of your angelic senses of perception. Perhaps inevitably, you've been giving out money to like beggars on the street, and you've been finding merchants items that they need and that kind of thing. You've been generally making people's lives a lot better just by your existence and what you can do for them. And perhaps inevitably this has attracted some attention. But as you are walking forward, you realize there's a big gap between like groups of people where if you continue on this path, you're going to get to a point where it's just going to be you and these people within eyeshot and earshot. How do you approach this situation? Do you try and duck them and like scamper up to a roof or like hide from them in an alleyway, or do you try and confront them violently or non-violently? What is William's approach as he's pretty sure he's about to be mugged?
More than likely, I would want to avoid getting it. It depends. Do I think that I'd be able to survive the encounter?
Almost certainly. Unless they like know how hard you are to kill and have the very specific intention of killing you, it'll probably just be a situation where you lose money and maybe get stabbed a little bit. A stabbing that surely would bother a normal man, but your unique combination of being a blood mage and excellent at healing, being a like part angel person and excellent at regenerating, and also your character attribute is tough. William is probably the most survivable character we've created in this setting. The player character, I want to specify. But yeah, you would almost certainly live.
Do they look like just human? Do they look like just people that look troubled, or are they like almost magically dark, like evil-ish?
I'm glad you asked. You actually haven't turned to see them. You've just noticed like footsteps tracking you, and you've caught glimpses. It's a pair of people, just about regular human height, but they've got cowls on. You can turn around and get a better look, but it will likely be pretty obvious that you're turning around to see them.
Okay, I'm gonna turn around, big, bulking, and I'm gonna like specifically try to make myself look as intimidating and scary as possible, and I'm going to be as friendly as I possibly can. Like, oh, hey guys, it's so great to see you. I'm so glad you guys have made it. You guys are the demons I'm looking for, right?
You turn around and start to say all that, and just you being like friendly and like looking directly at them and starting to say words, they look at each other and panic, and one of them jumps towards you with a dull-looking knife. You get most of the way through that because you're like 20 feet away from them. So he's like running, jumps up. It is as he gets closer, you see it's like twilight, but you have that angelic eyesight, and so it's locked down immediately. It's on sight. This guy does not look threatening. If anything, he looks starving. He's sort of like gaunt-faced, and with the kind of tattered apparel that you associate mostly with like, you know, like urchins is probably the word you might use, and just people who kind of have to. I think because of your awareness of grace. Oh, you also have an awareness of grace, and I think what you sense from this person is a desperation to accomplish a task and leave. You also see, as he brings up this knife, that it is no normal dagger. It is strangely curved, like a beast's tooth, and it is clearly metal. But it is sort of a dull, kind of bluish metal that you don't think you've ever seen a knife made of before.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let that one hit me. I'm gonna definitely try to dodge that one.
Right on. Roll to dodge.
19.
19 is excellent. William, while not particularly combat trained, is at least very very used to taking or barely avoiding damage, is how I'm going to put it. So you sidestep this guy and hold out a leg, and the guy trips over it, and the knife clatters away from him, and he looks at you in fear and looks at the knife and starts to scramble towards it. Is William going to try and get to the knife before this guy does?
Yeah, I'm going to do like that move where you like step on it. How does he look like scrawny? Is he like a scrawny boy?
He's a scrawny boy.
I'm gonna just flat pick him up.
Right on. I don't think you need to roll for that. This guy's on the ground, and you are 6.5 feet tall. You grab this dude's cowl and lift him up, and it is very sad how small he is in the cowl, and he kind of like falls to just being picked up by it. And he glances at the knife, and he points at it like to draw your attention to it. And when you look over, you see that the handle is not just wrapped in leather. There is a note loosely wrapped around the handle.
What? Are you paid to do this? Is this a delivery?
He kind of nods and his mouth moves like he's looking to say something, but he kind of just manages like
All right. Is there anything else you'd care to deliver? Maybe in a less painful way. And I'm gonna hand him a little bit of money and say, "Please go find yourself something to eat and be gone."
He kind of like bows with the money and like looks around, and his friend is already bolted, just way far away. And he looks back and like seems to gather up his courage, and he says, Please don't tell him I didn't stab you." And then he runs.
I'm gonna like wave after like, hey, be safe now, and I'm gonna take the knife and read whatever is written.
You walk over and pick up the knife. You realize, because of your awareness of grace, you kind of sense, and because of your acute eyesight, you see some people that you didn't see before. Looking over at a nearby alley, there's like stacked, just like broken crates and sacks that were clearly used to carry like bulk goods, probably from like farms to stores and restaurants kind of locations in the capital. And hiding among this kind of urban rubble, there's like a small group of like 6 children, none of whom can be like older than 8, just looking up at you in wonder that you just like stopped a man from mugging you and then gave him money and like wished him well. And it's just all these little kids like covered in soot, so that their eyes really stick, like the whites of their eyes really stick out against it's a very Dickensian picture of like just this group of orphans.
That's so sad. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Yep.
All right. First, what does the note on this knife say? I should priorities here.
You unfurl it. It's about this big when you open it up, and written in a hastily scrawled hand, it says, "A gift to you, as sworn by your name and by mine, in exchange for your oath of non-maleficence, which, if you'll recall, you did not specify an end date on. I look forward to seeing you in the future."
You know what? That's genuinely fair. I get it.
Sweet.
Cool.
The
I'll
knife
take this.
is weirdly heavy, by the way. Whatever the dull bluish gray metal is, it is. It's got some heft to it. Does William have any history in metallurgy?
Probably not.
You have no idea what it is.
All right. Again, what color is it? You said it was like a silvery blue.
Yeah, like a dull gray blue.
All right. Cool. I guess I'll head out of here. Maybe go find a ball to kick to some kids, but more than likely just head out.
Right on. It's also worth noting William knows someone with a foundry who might be able to identify that metal. But
Yeah, definitely looking to head over there.
yeah, but the next thing we have to handle is the matter of how William spends the first of 3 weeks before going to hunt this demon. Now, 3 preset goals, but you can do whatever you want for this week, and we're going to use the token system to figure out how it goes. You can continue to train your sense of grace by helping people around the city. This can also probably get you some like positive connections with the community and with important individuals in the capital. You can spend this time learning more about sanguine magic, something that you kind of developed a problem with more recently and also became a practitioner of very recently, and something that William maybe knows enough about to hate, but not enough about to know how to dismantle it from within. So that could be a priority for William. Or, because William is new here and has met a couple of friends, you can spend your week making inroads with the party. This will not let you make a roll, but if you pick one of your fellow party members to spend the week with, they get to basically draw their token with with advantage. And you'll be using like an assist action and might make some friends along the way.
So looking into that's like the blood magic is an idea specifically like for pain or pleasure, right?
Yes.
I guess I get a draw to see how well I would be able to dissect that as an idea.
Yeah, and investigating it would probably mean finding other blood mages in the capital and talking to them or observing what they do. And it might also include discussions with your patron, one of the Razorkin.
Yes. Can I like ditch the dagger if I'm going to be talking to any of those guys? But yeah, I think I'd rather do that.
Yeah, you have a safe place to store the dagger. But yeah, if you start investigating sanguine magic, I'm going to say that yeah. That's a good way to spend your week. Now, are there any skills that William is particularly adept at that you think would justify you getting an advantage on this token draw?
All I've done so far, I believe, is hang around like the hospitals where they go and like injure themselves to heal others, kind of thing. Which is why the floors are slick with blood, etc. I think that's where I would specifically like to go again to like double down my efforts.
Right on. If you go to the Red Temple, that's a great place to learn about it, and I'm going to say that it adds a success token. Also, since there's very little that William already knows about sanguine magic, I'm going to say there's a very high chance that you will learn something. So I will add a second success token. Anything else to give you advantage, or are you ready to draw the token to see how you do?
I guess I'm ready to draw. Let's do it.
Right on.
Do I add 2 tokens on my end, or do you have them on yours?
Oh, I've got them on mine. I'll roll it so that
Okay,
we
good.
can have it like on the screen. But that's a success. William learns a great deal in this first week about sanguine magic by talking to and investigating blood mages, especially those at the Red Temple. Are there any specific questions that you as a player would like answered about this magic system that you might learn there, or do you want me to pull some details out of a hat?
Something that I specifically want to know is the amount of pain what gives me an amount of mana, or is it the importance of the pain that can do it? Like if I go and cut out my liver, is that more important than stabbing myself through the heart kind of thing?
That is an excellent question, and it is something that is answered very easily by going to the Red Temple. Upon arriving, you see written in great ancient runes over the entrance arch something in a language that you've never seen before. One of the attendants who comes to you as soon as you come through the door and asks like what they can do to help you. When you ask them what the runes mean, they explain that it is written in the ancient sanguine tongue of the Razorkin, and that it means pain without harm, pleasure with consent. And so he explains that the big thing about the Red Temple is that they cause pain, but will refuse to do any procedures that cause harm, meaning anything that compromises your ability to function in the short or long term is not allowed. So breaking someone's leg, never under any circumstances done at the Red Temple. Except he explains for like a healing situation where if the bone grows back wrong, you have to break it so that it grows back right. But that's that's just chirurgery. And so he goes on and explains basically the Red Temple, they will use knives or whips and things that break the skin to cause pain, but only ever after the person has consented or like on the blood mage's own self. Like it is how pain is generally carried out. In addition to which, harm doesn't prevent gaining the mana, but it is strictly disallowed at the Red Temple. So, yeah, in answer to your question, he says, no, the importance of the wound not only doesn't matter, but you're not allowed to make important wounds here. You're only allowed to make wounds that will heal cleanly and not compromise someone's ability to move forward. Pain without harm is always the goal. Any other questions I can answer for you?
Not that I can think of. Have you got anything out of the hat you can give me?
Let's see. Yes, the pain versus pleasure thing. The pain is generally blood mages causing themselves pain, like flagellants actually get a sort of advantage on how much mana they get if they inflict pain on themselves, and they get it at a reduced rate from other people. So there is a way that you can specialize towards that, like on a magic system level. Also, the pleasure part of it is a concept that it's hard for William to wrap his head around, but basically it's not just joy, it has to be a physical sensation that is enjoyable. So food is a great thing, and sex, the attendant hesitantly explains to you, he's like, I mean, most people who come in with like really vague questions but aren't willing to get specific are really here wondering about the one thing that you want to ask about, but you feel bad asking about it. And he explains the great extensive process that is used to determine that everyone participating in something like that has given consent, and to guarantee the privacy of every individual. They have like secret entrances and exits, and most often it's done off-site by a blood mage who like basically absorbs that mana somewhere else and comes back to use it here. But this guy talks about how they take great pains to ensure the anonymity and really extensive safety of everyone involved in something like that. And the last thing he explains is, mostly if we do any like pleasure kind of stuff here, it's not sexual at all. I know that's like what the public wants to talk about because it's very attention grabbing, but it's mostly like massage therapy they're all trained chirurgeons, the misuses, and cooking food. That's most of it. Just food and massage. So
this actually brings up the last thing I guess I'll ask is that gives me two parts to this one question. One, how long does like the mana last? Is that like you go and you cut yourself once 10 years ago and you can still use it now? Or does it slowly fade out? And also, is there a way to physically store it? Is there like a method of physically storing the product of harming or pleasuring somebody one way or the other?
The attendant says, those are all really good questions. I just kind of work here, so I'm going to get someone for you. And he runs off and grabs someone who comes back. He is in this new guy. He's got that kind of half beard, like it ends right here. I don't think it's a goatee. I think that's called a half beard. But he's in resplendent like burgundy robes that look like they're made of something very heavy and like you would be way too hot indoors. But nonetheless, he walks up to you, just really nice robe, and says, "I understand you have questions about," and he pauses and says, and he looks you up and down and says, "Are you already a blood mage?" You have no idea why he could tell that about you.
Yes. I'm looking to understand a little bit more about my own creed, so to say.
Oh, an acolyte. And he slaps you on the back and he says, well, how can I help you? What questions?
Yeah, and I'll ask the same question, basically.
Right on. You ask him, and he thinks about it and says, well, I suppose I haven't kept a very small amount of mana for a long time without using it, but I believe it's possible. After a time, I began sort of having an internal surplus of mana at all times, and it never sort of went bad or leaked out, you know? What was your other... Oh, the physical... Storing it physically is an excellent question. And the answer is yes, I believe, but it's more of a scholarly pursuit. I don't know anyone who's actually managed to do it, but it's something I've heard about from universalists at the Academy. I believe there is a way to store the sort of magical energies that are used not just by sanguine magic, but by all magic practitioners, and to crystallize it either into liquid or crystal form. I wish I had paid more attention in my classes back when I attended the Academy. I believe there's a way to do it. I don't know any practical use for it.
A lot like how Otherworlders have certain metals, so to say, associated with each of their, I guess, races. The magic itself can be represented by a specific crystal or liquidation of it.
When you bring up metals, he goes, okay, let's take this into a different room. And he actually ushers you towards like a private audience chamber. And they like close the door, and another like attendant walks in just to hang out in there, and the guy briefly explains there's always like an extra witness present. I don't go into a room with anyone in the Red Temple alone because there's too much opportunity for abuse of power. Just
fair enough.
If he makes you uncomfortable, we can get someone else, or he can leave. But there's a lot of express written consent that needs to go into that.
I'm fine with this as it is.
Yes. Sorry to rush you off into this room. Bane metals are not something we discuss in public because they could be used against us. You understand?
Specifically because are we specifically tied to one as blood mages? Are we also almost vulnerable to the same magic as our patron?
Indeed, yes. If you were stabbed with the Bane metal that would deal extra damage to your patron, then it would actually take away some of your powers. The same with Bane auras, if you've heard of those, but you both take more damage and it can deaden your powers for a time. Usually not forever, as soon as the wound heals, with which, if you have another blood mage with you, can be rather quickly. I'm sure you know. Yes, don't go near lead.
Fair enough. Is there one that like specifically boosts blood magic by chance?
No. I believe metals generally ground magical energies. They do not conduct or enhance it. At least that's how I thought of it. I never finished my physics classes either. I'm a terrible scholar. I'm a better healer, like practical healer, you know.
It makes a lot of sense, and I think that's all I've got for you. I'm going to go try and find my friend, some guy.
Excellent. Well, it was nice to meet you. Come back if you ever want a job, eh? We could always use another blood mage.
I'm going to give him a crisp high five, and I'm off to go find Merigold.
Right on. So I don't know what you do for the rest of the week, because that one interaction pretty much clears up everything you needed to do that week to get the blood magic stuff involved. But it's an abstraction, so we're going to move on. Alberth. Alberth, you were in your workshop one day, reading your mail. You regularly get mail from people who have seen your invention and wanted to thank you, or wanted to reach out to see if they can sell it through their store, like if they can become like a part of the supply chain and that kind of
Franchise.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And my guess is Alberth is always very courteous to everyone who sends him a letter for any reason. There is a particular letter marked with a very fancy seal. The seal is from... Let me just grab a name from here. The name is Lord Draintha. An older house of the royalty of Telmeri. Alberth looks through, Alberth might recognize this as the former surname of Queen Resenda. She was formerly Queen Resenda of House Draintha. And the pronunciation really differs from region to region of that last name. In fact, many people claim it's a litmus test for where in Telmeri someone is from. If they pronounce it Draintha, Draintha, Drainth, or Drainth, or even like some people further east bordering the Ton, like in the Red Reach where the first campaign started, they might even pronounce it Drainse, with sort of that German R, and the TH becomes like a S sound. But I'll stop ranting unless Alberth is a particular student of accents or etymology and would know more. The peeling open the letter, you realize that it is someone who is wanting to go into business with you. And Lord Draintha basically says, like, if you want to become a major supplier of this, I have a bunch of caravans that go all over, and could start supplying it to every major, like every nobleman in every major city across Telmeri. And because the Merchants Guild is international, this could be like a really lucrative deal that could spread the crossbows everywhere. And he makes two offers. One of them for if you want to be business partners, and he'll like use all of his caravans and the merchants his merchant connections for distribution. And one offer that is if you want to sell him the patent essentially outright, so that he can like produce them himself rather than you having to set up the logistics of multiple production centers. As you are reading this, there is a soft rhythmic knock on the door of Alberth's workshop.
Cool. I'll very gently set down the paper in a place that I will remember to pick it up again. Because I imagine Alberth is always got a million things going on. Sometimes he never gets, it takes a while to get back to stuff, but he prominently sets it down and then goes and opens the door.
Right on. There is a tall, lanky man on the other side of the door who has already taken off his hat, revealing like a mop of floppy hair. And he says, "Oh, hello. My name's Simsel, and I'd like to talk to you." He has a bad New Zealand accent. It doesn't make him Beetle. My name's Simsel, and I'd like to talk to you about selling your crossbows. That's what people have started calling it. I know it's technically called a gun, but people have, I'm sure you've noticed, people have started making sort of replicas, and I don't think any of them are as good as yours, but generally the product is called crossbows, but the brand gun, I respect it, Can I come in?
Yeah. Sure, please do.
Sweet. And he pulls off his long traveling coat. It's a little tattered, and he has like a mottled gray vest underneath that's also seen some wear. This is kind of like the clothing would imply like a high noble station, but the state of it would imply less financial freedom than that. And he hangs his coat and his hat on a rack and kind of looks around and whistles. I can't whistle that well, so I won't do it. But he whistles at the stuff that's hanging on the walls, like the super soaker that you've got on the wall, and the various iterations of the gun that you've been working on. And he says, "So yeah, like I said, my name's Simsel, and I've got a number of people who travel for a living, caravaneers and such, Merchants Guild types, they're looking to lock down a very nice contract with you for the production of the gun. It would help a lot of travelers and help keep them safe on the road. I'm sure you've been getting a lot of deals like this. Strangely, this is the first day you've heard of it, and it's two at once. Sort of a when it rains it pours situation. But Simsel goes on to lay out the details of this contract. And what it sounds like is Lord Draintha would like to sell these and market them primarily to noblemen and price them at a point that primarily noblemen will pay for. It means a huge profit margin on every gun produced and a huge market for them. Simsel wants to sell it very specifically to merchants and caravaneers who don't have a great way to protect themselves against international banditry, especially people traveling through Dulmer. They're going to need like a lot of protection, and in some of these places, not just from bandits, but from monsters, like beings imbued with magic from the Otherworlds that the average person doesn't really have a chance in protecting themselves from. But Simsel explains that it would do a lot of good, basically. And Alberth is faced with what I'm guessing, or what's probably not the first decision he's had to make. Alberth had often heard about like the burden of being rich, and it always sounded like made up to him. But he does face himself with a conundrum that he now faces weekly, if not daily, which is, what do I do with this money? Do I start to lose it for a good reason, or do I double down on it and do something maybe questionable?
Yeah.
You always create two product lines, one that's like they're functionally the same, but one has extra features.
I like that idea. Okay, my question though is, what are the odds that Alberth has gotten wind that a crossbow was used in, sorry, a gun was used in like something that Alberth would not approve of, or like a horrific accident, or even just like an intentional like terrible murder that wouldn't have been possible without? Because I think if nothing like that has happened, Alberth probably wouldn't even like realize it, but that would definitely change like how he feels about.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty recent invention. It's in you got to the capital just over 3 months ago now, and you started manufacturing them just after that. So I think the distribution has taken some time. I think it hasn't been in any big headlines, except in certain publications where the tone is one of skepticism about the gun, but with an overarching tone not of like, this new technology could be dangerous. The overtone is, look at this new money. Look at this peasant who is like hanging out with nobility. That's not how it's supposed to work. Go back to being a peasant. That's been the most negative response that Alberth has had, is that overarching tone of like, you shouldn't be here though.
Gotcha. Okay. Ooh, yeah, that makes it tricky. And so both of the offers are asking for like, both of them want to buy the patent essentially, right? Or have an exclusive deal, so that I couldn't say yes to both of them.
It's not specified. Simsel hasn't specified anything. The letter did say that he wanted to be your exclusive distributor. Yes.
Okay.
If you need some time to think about it, I can come back later. No rush.
That would be great. Thank you.
Excellent.
I very much appreciate it.
Pleasure to meet you. And he takes his hat and his coat off the rack, and he puts them on, straightens them out, and wanders back into the streets of the capital. Vignette over. Let's talk about what Alberth wants to spend this first week doing, what goals he wants to pursue. The 3 that I have loaded up are, number 1, working on inventions. Seeing if you can iterate on the gun or create a new kind of, a new kind of tool that would help you on your adventures or would help people or would sell well. Option number 2 is Acts of Grace. Your deal with a servitor comes with a certain requirement of an amount of nice things you need to do per week, essentially. That a lot of people will pick their own sort of holy day and spend that day doing what's called acts of grace that are required by these Lycians. It's also how you gain advancement as a servitor. It's just doing enough powerful, nice things, and so it can really grab the attention of your servitor and result in a promotion. So acts of grace is the second option, and the third option is trying to find good ways for Alberth to spend the money that he doesn't really know what to do with. And so that dilemma of what we were talking about earlier, how much money do you get before it is your responsibility to do something amazing with it? Alberth could be pursuing leads of how much does it cost to build an orphanage? How easy is it to defend people against monsters, and what do they need to do that, and that kind of thing.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. I think I want to maybe kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I want to spend at least a day or 2 trying to do something nice for my friend Merigold in crafting some rose-tinted stained glass spectacles for him on those days where he wakes up and he's just, the sun's a little too bright. And as I am finishing them and I invite him over, I also want to ask his opinion on what I should do between the two options of who I should sell the crossbows to. And I'll kind of bring up hey, I don't really need the money. It's more of a moral issue. What, in your magely opinion, is the better of these 2 options? Also, here's some spectacles.
Right on. Let's start by rolling up the... rolling that token pool. I'm going to say, for starters, that Alberth is an extremely talented inventor. Not only good, which is going to add a success token, but consistent, so we're going to remove a failure token.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. That, I think that's it. Any other factors that you think should be taken into consideration for Alberth's chances at success?
The sage advice of his good friend.
Yeah. Is this just a success in making the glasses?
This is just for
or
making
a
the
success
glasses.
in making-
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's probably it. I don't think it's that deep.
Right on. And go.
Oh no!
Unfortunately, that 2 out of 7 chance. Alberth tinkers around with the stained glass for a while, but eventually ends up concluding there's no way to get the glass thin enough that the spectacles aren't so top-heavy they'll topple off of someone's face. He messes around with a sort of around-the-back headband for a while. It does not look good. Eventually, he sets the experiments away for later use, and goes and talks to Merigold anyways to get his opinion. Merigold, what do you think is your input on this dilemma?
Have I spoken to Miles since his interaction with the mugger?
That's a good question. That's up to you guys. Do you think you guys would talk?
I was expressly looking to find him to discuss this.
That makes sense.
Not the dagger specifically, but the idea of storing and using and what, etc.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll say, like, I don't see why it has to be exclusive. Like, think about swords and daggers, for example. They aren't exclusive to poor people or to noblemen, but there are different types. For example, just the other day, Miles got attacked by a man that had a very fancy dagger with a mysterious metal that I couldn't identify.
Oh, you
I'm sure
could.
it cost money.
Sorry,
Oh, I could.
Merigold has been to a foundry before. It's lead.
Okay. Okay. Is lead expensive in this world?
Nope. It's just heavy.
Okay. So, for example, the poorest among us might be stuck using a lead dagger, but they might afford something plated in silver or platinum. I don't know what people make daggers out of. The point is, you could find a way to finagle these agreements so that you could be the one-stop shop for high-quality crossbows across all price points, is my business thought, but I don't know. I'm going to go get a drink.
That's an amazing idea. And I'm sure that if I worked on it, I could come up with a way to manufacture these things that's even cheaper and more reliable for the merchants that are looking for it, and do something really special for the noblemen who want to like spend like custom made violin style
Yeah.
like works of art.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. That's a huge help. I think I'm gonna pitch that to both of them.
Right on. Yeah, I was intending to do one token pool to represent a whole week's efforts, just because I like it being very boiled down. But I think it's reasonable to make another token roll for Albert's attempts to work with both Simsil and Lord. Man, there's so many names. I've done this to myself. Lord Dratha. And get that. Mostly Lord Dratha is going to have a problem with it. Simsil says pretty early on in these negotiations, like, oh yeah, they'd be totally fine. The people with the bad crossbows, or the cheap crossbows, I should say, they're not going to be bad. I should also call it a gun. Sorry, the first time I saw it, it was being sold by someone else. So it's sort of a brain shift to call it a gun. But the good ones are called guns. Honestly, all the rip-offs, they can't get the tension right. I don't know if you make it out of a different kind of string or if you're double-minded or anything. But and he rants for a little bit, speculating. But eventually he says, the people with the cheap crossbows could be carrying the good mahogany crossbows or what have you to the people who will pay out the butts for them. Sounds great to me. Lord Drathel is likely going to be harder to convince. You sent a letter in response to his. Alberth is a pretty charismatic dude, being a symbiote druid, despite lacking the technical, like the specifically symbiotic link. The nature of his druidic powers is still one of symbiosis, so I will add a success token. There is also the factor of his servitor powers that add another layer of just excellent charismaticness to them. There is the final nature, or the final complication of Lord Drathel's hesitance to split his profit margin with anyone. He's going to add a failure token. And the fact that, Lord Drathel is also not used to being told no or to being negotiated down, especially by someone who he may or may not consider to be a peasant. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the risk, positive or negative, by adding a crit token as well. Anything else that you think should affect this now very large token pool?
Yeah.
You could use my noble title to, like, put like a seal on it or something. I don't know if that's something that he would find appealing. I don't know.
I think that's an
Yeah,
excellent
I'll
idea.
mention.
Yeah. And I'm going to say two things. First of all, another inspiration point to Sam for that great in-character Merigold decision. And I'm going to say, just like William could have added advantage to anyone's rolls, I'm going to say that and the idea to pitch to both and have like different levels of quality advertised is enough of an aid from William that I'm going to say that counts as advantage. So,
Cool.
ready to draw?
I think so. I do want to also say, I would probably, in the talks with what's it's not Beetle. Dang it. Cecil? Cecil? What's the other salesman's name? The lanky guy. Simsel. I would talk to him and say, is it okay if the things that I make for you aren't called the gun? Like if we come up with a different name for the new product that I'm going to be working on with you, so that I can sell the gun to this other guy. Does he seem chill with that? Because I get the vibe that he just cares about a product that does what we want it to do.
Yeah, as long as it works. Will it work the same?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it'll be great.
Fantastic.
And even less time intensive to make. So
right on. Simsel agrees.
Cool.
And then
so I will say, like, in my letter that includes like Merigold is my business partner. This is our like counter plan. You will get the exclusive rights to the original gun brand.
Mm-hmm. Right
to
on.
try and sweeten the deal that way. And also, like, I retain because I'm an inventor, I retain all my other rights to do my own thing as well.
Sounds great. Let's see how it turns out. One success is enough.
Okay.
Lord Drapeville is convinced and responds responds positively to your letter. He says that his letter ends, I look forward to doing business with both yourself and Lord McCarlin.
Nice.
Right on.
Thanks, Merigold.
Yeah, you got it.
Sweet. The next character we'll go to, sorry, is Grayson. Grayson, you are coming back to your lodgings one day at a place just at the outer limits of the city, right next to the gate. It's the closest inn to the stables, so you can visit Felt regularly. You get back to this inn, and a man with long black hair, kind of like bound up at the back, not like up, but bound into like a low pony, is like reading a book in one hand. Sorry. Is reading a book in one hand and glances up when he sees someone approaching and like closes his book like he's found someone that he's looking for. And he tucks the book into his pack. And he raises his hands towards you in greeting and says, Grayson?
Hello.
He nods and sticks out his hand. He says, I'm Dern. I'm a North Quill. North Quill is a term that the Hand of the North uses for their non-combat support personnel. They're generally scribes and merchants and people with inroads, but who, for one reason or another, don't want to bring a sword and a bow everywhere they go and hunt things that kill people for fun. He reaches forward and like shakes your hand, and he says, I know you're not here on official like Hand of the North. You're not here on assignment. I know you're here on a break, but the organization still wanted me to let you know that I'm here and can act as support in any way that you need. And it doesn't have to be Hand of the North related. Just I have a lot of connections above and below ground. And so if you need to go to ground, if you need to find an item, if you need someone to spy on someone for you, just let me know, because that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Nice to meet you. Was it Dern?
Dern.
Awesome. I don't know. Tom doesn't know anything that he would be having this Northquill do, but is there something I should be considering?
No, he mentioned that if there's any items you want him to look for, then he can do that. So if you want him to try and track that druidic artifact, he could probably find out when it's coming to town and along what route. If you want him to send him to investigate anyone that you want to know more about, like any of these three bozos that you've been hanging out with, no, if you want to learn more about them before going into business with them, you can do that. If you're curious about what Lion's hiding, maybe what Pater Ullman is hiding, any of that, you can send him to kind of spy on anyone. Either way, what you do for the week doesn't have to be tied to what he does for the week. And if you want to keep him like ambiguous, then I'm going to say he can just add a success token to whatever you do if you don't have like a specific task that you'd like to send him out to do separately from you.
Okay. Okay. I think Grayson isn't quite as invested in the druidic stuff as the other parties because they have, ties, and Grayson is sort of just has met these guys like once or twice.
Yeah.
So I think Grayson's gonna have Dern tail Lion because he's sort of gotten icky vibes from her. So we're gonna have him tail Lion and see what she's up to.
Right on. And we will roll or draw tokens for what he does later, because you won't know until he returns to talk to you. And so that's when we'll randomize it. Meanwhile, the stuff that Grayson does for this week. Grayson can do what he normally does when he gets to like a big city kind of location, and just start making friends in high places. Ingratiate himself to the local nobility, get to know the merchants who are in charge. Getting a network of people who know you and like you is really important, and can help kind of cover your ass if you get in trouble, and can help like get information that you need, or get you out of trouble, because you frequently run into trouble with the law because you carry around big ol' weapons and hunt demons and the people who foolishly summon them to the world. It's also worth noting, Grayson knows the only way a demon can enter the mortal world, unlike many of the other outsiders who do have their own like portals and places of access and places of communion, demons can only enter the mortal world if a warlock who they've made a pact with is outright like, yeah, come on over.
So is the demon that is with me all the time, is he just like mentally here, or is he just like always with me physically, like following me around?
Mentally. He's not in the mortal world. You're not 100% sure you would know if he was, but if he is, then it's from a different warlock, because you've definitely never summoned him to the world.
Cool.
So yeah, you can make friends in high places. Grayson can stage a heist. Lest we forget, Grayson is an experienced thief, and you can steal something either to keep it or to destroy it to impress your demon patron. Or third, he can search for demonic influence. Grayson is very good at sussing out demons, and with a huge city like this, the demon he finds might not even be the one you recently chased off. There's a lot of people here, and looking for signs that a demon has been somewhere or has influenced people or is residing somewhere nearby is Grayson's specialty. So, make friends in high places, stage a heist, search for demonic influence, or anything that that Tom thinks Grayson wants to do.
I think Grayson's gonna have to like really fight the urge to steal something and like remain on task, but the picture of the demon like screaming incredible volumes and running away is just gonna keep playing through his mind, and keeping in mind that that's why he was here in the first place, he's gonna search for demonic influence.
Right on. Yeah, I'm going to say that this is another thing that Grayson is very good and very consistent at. So we're going to add a success token and remove a failure token. Demons are also something that looking for them often means they find you. So we're going to add 2 crit tokens, because while it's likely that Grayson will succeed, it's also a high-risk situation. Anything else that you'd like to add that you think should affect the token pool?
Not that I can think of.
Has Grayson interacted with William? And William maybe... I guess William has no interaction with demons at all since the last time we saw a demon, so never mind.
Yeah, probably not.
Unless the guy who tried to stab me knows.
No.
Dang.
Oh, question actually. What's the metal? I feel like, is it silver?
It's
silver, right?
Yep.
I remember that.
Yeah, you
Okay.
have a silver dagger coated in salt. Yep. Right on.
I don't think there's any bonus points I can think of.
Sweet. Draw. It's a critical, which means the result of the next token draw is doubled.
What if this one's a crit?
It would be a double crit. Yeah. So, Grayson spends some time searching for demons, for demonic influences, and
He finds extra nothing.
no, in fact, something finds him. The next day, when you return to the inn, or not the next day, but like at the end of the week, when you return to the inn, there is a commotion at the front desk, and when you walk up, you hear like a bunch of people arguing, and you hear something about the stable writs. A writ is like any official document. You have a stable writ that's basically like a valet ticket that is like, I own the horse in this stall. They're arguing about how a number of them were stolen, and so you run out to the city gates and find that there's a big hubbub surrounding this stable. Apparently someone had forged a number of different stable writs and stolen a bunch of horses. When you go to the stable where Felt was supposed to be staying, you see a small note that says simply, "Give it up."
Oh no!
That is such a bummer.
Meanwhile, Merigold.
Ooh, I got plans.
Merigold, we cut to you at the beginning of the week, before you've even met with Alberth, because this is all 1 week at a time, Rashomon style. I think that's Rashomon style. I haven't seen the movie. But Merigold is having a drinking day. A day that he looks forward to all week. Merigold knows that there's 7 days in a week, but he's started to think of every 4-day period as a week, so that he can have a weekend once every 4 days. And what a weekend it is. You are just getting to the beginning of the deep state of disassociation that you normally reach on a good day of hearty drinking. Hanging out with your good friend Fergus at a tavern that is a fan of many Universalist students and a fan of nobility and peasantry alike, a tavern called the Smug Bastard. Merigold is drinking. What do you think Marigold's standard drink of choice is if he's at a bar and just has his pick?
I feel like he'd be a wine guy.
Right on. Any particular fruit?
Probably grapes.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah. Marigold is tipping back a full-bodied red when Fergus asks him, "So, are you ready to are you ready to tell me that big secret you've got? The big with the metal and the dwarves. You one day you're gonna give me that secret, and then I'll give you a secret because we're mages."
Perhaps someday, but not today.
Come on. We're not mages right now. We're too drunk to be mages.
Well, I don't think your secret's gonna be as good as mine, you see.
Oh, you don't think my secrets...
It's really good, Fergus.
I've got secrets. I've got so many secrets. I teach a class that you are in. I'm above you in station. Tell me your dead dwarf friend's secret.
Maybe I'll tell you when you're in my class. How about that?
You won't. And unless there's anything more substantive that you want to add to this jovial drinking conversation with Fergus, we can cut to the next morning when Merigold begins whatever his action for the week is.
Probably some coffee.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay, I had a few plans, like a vague outline. I want to first prepare for the demon encounter. I want to know what that secret is. So the plan is to try to hit him again with the spell, and figure out. So I'm going to go try to talk to some people at the university to see if anyone A knows the Eldritch language, and as a backup, B, can I get some sort of a magical recording device to like have a wire on me so that I can study the secret later, even if I can't catch it in the next thing I want to do, I guess we can do that one first. That's the most important one.
Yeah, sorry. You look, there's a number of linguistics professors at the Universalist Academy, which is strange because all 6 kingdoms speak common. There are other languages. For example, the language of the dwarves. Obviously, kind of a dead language now. Some people insist on keeping it as a liturgical language, which means a language used for religious observance, for the Church of the Mountain, because the Church of the Mountain was originally a dwarven religion. There is additionally the ancient language of those of the sun, the language of Solari, is kept as a liturgical language by inheritors, who often treat like their solar powers not only as like a practice or a magic system, but also as a religion. The language that this demon was speaking is presumably Chthonic, the ancient language of demons. You speak to a number of scholars. I don't think a roll is necessary because I think this is this is knowledge that you would brag about if you went to this kind of academy. I think that there's a number of people who insist that they know enough to translate a written text, and can make educated guesses at the pronunciation. One of them actually specifies that the Dwarven language draws from many otherworldly roots, just like the common language of humanity does, but it drew on none more than Chthonic. So someone who knows the Dwarven language might be able to have a better shot at it. As for recording devices, as far as you know, no such thing exists, and like has been invented. There are, there's no recording devices. Although speaking of inventions that are unique to the Universalist Academy and are often worn by mages, we mentioned in the first campaign that mages often wear mechanical wristwatches that work via like complex interlocking gear mechanisms. Do you think that since beginning to attend the Universalist Academy, Merigold has such a timepiece?
Sure.
Right on. Yeah. Apropos of nothing, it doesn't affect what's going on here, but yeah, that's what you find out about the language and about potential recording software. It doesn't seem to exist.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to think about was, is there a way that I could magically reduce the cooldown of my Duralumin spell, my enhance spell?
Yeah.
Or rather, the spell that was enhanced, I guess.
I think it makes sense to do a quick roll for this, because if that information exists, then it is likely secret information, and that means it's a trade good here. So I'm going to say that Merigold's natural curiosity and awareness of secrecy is going to add a success token. But the equivalent problem also exists in that the people you're trying to get information from are also mages and are very adept at secrecy. So that's going to add a failure token. On top of which, there is no great consequence to whether you succeed or fail, so we're going to remove a crit token entirely. Anything else that you think should apply to this token pool?
If I find a likely target, I could certainly take them out drinking.
That's true. I think that mages who attend the Universalist Academy are going to be more wary than most about who they go out drinking with. So I think that is as much of a pro as it is a con.
Okay. Call it even then and roll it without the.
Let's see it. Hey! Very nice. Merigold does find a mage who explains that there are ways to specialize how a secret empowers a spell. And one of the things that it can do is reduce the cooldown. This particular mage does not know if that information applies, or if the reduced cooldown applies proportionately to something that you use exhaustive strength on. But she suspects so.
And once a secret is bound, can I unbind it and rebind it to a spell?
Sorry, once a secret is what? Can you unbind it?
Is bound. Like, once I've... yeah.
Yes, it would be a discussion with your patron.
I do have to have one of those. That's on my list.
That's true.
Okay. That's all for that. The other two things were talk with the patron and see if I can hit Pater Ullman with a compel and discretion at some point before we go out.
Sweet. Yeah.
But we could wait until later if we need to.
Right on. I haven't even given you the options for things you can work on yet. But one of them is spying on Pater Ullman. One of them is just trying to get ahead in your various classes because you'll likely be gone for a while and don't want to have to retake them. And the third option is independent research. Merigold has access to a number of libraries at which he can study any subject under the sun. So if there's anything you want to know about the magic system, about the political landscape, about history, about the sciences, if you want to learn a little bit of alchemy, pretty much anything you can find at these libraries. And all access costs you is like a little bit of secrecy or money, depending on the library. But the really big ones usually ask for powerful secrets or for like knowledge to be shared with them in exchange. So attending classes, spying on Ullman, independent research. Those are all preset options. But anything you want to do on your own volition counts as well.
I feel like I'm going to do that Harry Potter thing and neglect my schoolwork in favor of spying on the authority figure.
Classic. Right on. I'm going to say your skill in revealing secrets is going to add a success token. Pater Ullman's adeptness? Yeah. Adeptitude? I don't know. At keeping secrets is going to add a failure token. And what else? You don't have access to compel indiscretion for this whole week. Actually, it's still out.
Yeah.
But I think that Merigold has other ways of getting people to reveal information. So, yeah. Anything else that you think should affect the current token pool?
No, I think that's good.
Right on.
Uh-oh.
A crit?
Let's go.
A critical success.
Hey.
Right on.
You were talking.
So, sorry, say again?
I said now we're talking.
Oh, now we're talking. I thought you said give me a second. I was like, I can wait.
Oh, no.
So you discover, by tailing Peter Ullman for a while, you see him have several meetings with other people. Many of them other members of clergy, and you note down their appearances and where they head to so that you can kind of track them, branching outwards and find more about them as individuals. A number of non-clergy, some of whom seem to be coming to him for some kind of confession ritual. Being from Venel, you are not particularly well acquainted with the Church of the Mountain. It seems like a weird one, but then again, most religions do until you learn like a lot about them. So, yeah, you sit and watch some of these confessions, and you start to notice a pattern that some of these people come in with like bags of stuff and leave with those same bags of stuff. Most of the people who are doing like confession do that, but you realize that some of the people, some of the clergy members, either come with a bag full of like what look like documents and like just various papers and stuff and leave without a bag, or come without a bag and leave with one. You trace these sort of clergy couriers outwards to where they're going and where the other packages are going, and it takes a better part of a week and a lot of staking out and waiting. But you kind of start to connect the dots between some of these people and find that they're keeping like it's like a separate organization within the Church of the Mountain, that some of these clergy seem to be working together. And finally you track one long enough that they actually come to a building that is on fire, and desperate to help people, they dash in without securing the bag of documents. And you find your way over, take a few of them out, and scurry away as fast as you can to get ready to read everything. It's cleverly worded to look like normal, like clergy communication, but reading out several of these letters, you put together a pattern of they seem to be discussing two things. Number one, the recent insurgents in Vuitton. The royal family of Vuitton was recently overthrown in a unique kind of coup that was very little military power was used. It was primarily a coup of espionage. Like something rarely like you can rarely see in history books is an almost non-violent overthrowing of power. And it's still a noble house that ended up gaining power, but Vuitton is generally considered like a more egalitarian location now than it was before. And you see in some of these discussions them talking about what a coup like that would look like for Tel Mary. And some of them discuss a certain figure. They discuss it in code, but with Merigold's eye for secrecy, it's very easy to take apart the commonalities and figure out what they're talking about. But people will mention having seen a wolf. And they'll mention like seeing it at night and being worried about it and like praying about it, and their people were protected from the wolf, and that kind of like flimsy excuse to mention it. But this mentioning of the wolf comes up a lot, and another mention of the fox, and you realize that they are discussing the location of an individual or group of individuals as they move across the countryside. And based on the dates of these letters, they're moving towards the capital. Whoever whatever the wolf and the fox are, the clergy is keeping track of their movements, and they are getting to the capital soon. And it's somehow related to like an insurgence that happened in Vuitton and a desire for a movement of power. And what you are reminded of is Duke Visica's deathbed prophecy, that within the year the queen would die and the throne would be usurped by a caster beloved of the people. Yeah, and that's what you find out. You manage to slip these documents back into the courier pouch before the guy gets back from the fire, but not before you've committed them to memory as well as you can. Merigold doesn't have like a photographic memory, or he's not Sherlock Holmes or Shalon Devar, but he records all the important information, and does so very stealthily. What could it mean? Who are the wolf and the fox? Find out next time. No, we've got a couple more vignettes, but before we're finished, I'm kidding. But those are the major things that Merigold finds out. Meanwhile, at an inn near the edge of town, a kind of pale-looking man with long black hair pulled into a low ponytail approaches Grayson. Grayson, it seems that it seems that Dern, the capital's North Quill, has returned to you with a horse in tow. Felt is with him, and he waves you down, and he looks very concerned. He says, Grayson, some guy, sort of like a really gaunt, pale fellow. I know I'm one to talk. He approached me with this horse and told me to deliver a message to you, that no one has to get hurt, and this is just a warning, but it's time for you to back off. Is this normal? I'm kind of new to the organization. Oh my goodness. I accidentally gave him a Westeros accent, and I just realized that earlier he was kind of just talking like this. But I like this accent more. Dern had this accent the whole time, canonically. I'm gonna go on. He says, is this your horse?
It is my horse, right?
Yeah, it's Felt.
Okay. Yes, that is my horse.
Wow.
I've been worried sick about this guy, so...
The color kind of drains from his face as if you've like confirmed something that he feared. And he says, so they know who you are and what you're here to look for, and they know that I'm associated with you?
That's some really great reasoning you just used, Dern.
Right,
I'm
I
glad
have to
you're
go
on our
immediately,
side.
say
That's
goodbye to
concerning.
everyone I know, and flee town. So, it was nice meeting you. Oh, the information that you wanted to know.
Yes, before you go, you know.
Now remind me specifically what you sent Dern for. It was to investigate Lion? Is that?
Yeah.
Right on. Let's make a quick roll for how Dern did. Let's see. Dern's pretty good. That's success. This could be dangerous information. Add crit token. Draw token. Critical. Failure. So she found
No
me,
wonder he left.
and I don't think she knows that you sent me. But she also threatened my life, so I'm just gonna flee. I'm just gonna leave town.
I don't blame you, Dern. I'm so sorry.
You've got the sword and the bow. Look, you look very competent. I've got what the chirurgeons call hemophilia, so I'm just gonna.
Dern, why are you a member of this organization?
I'm a North Quill. I'm a combat member. I talk to people and I buy things.
All right. Well, I mean, thanks. I'm sorry, but thank you.
Yeah, Godspeed you.
Wait, before he goes, I'm gonna ask him to hold out his hand, and then I'm gonna pour a little bit of salt in there.
He gives kind of a knowing, but also kind of confused, like, thanks, I have a bunch of this, but...
It's a gesture.
Yeah, and
Bye,
salt
thank you.
is kind of expensive, so yeah, he does not appreciatively and pockets it into a pouch at his belt. Yep. And he heads out to buy a horse and flee. So hopefully Lion didn't trace that back to you, but we'll find out, won't we? Let's see. Yes.
Ian,
Yep.
is there like some sort of large noise that's coming out of my thing? It's showing that I'm talking all the time, even when I have my headset muted, and I just want to make sure I'm not being annoying.
A small amount of background noise.
Oh, I'm not picking up the background noise. We're fine.
I've heard like a very low rumble every once in a while. That's basically it.
No problem.
You're right. It is highlighted still. That's weird that it doesn't turn off.
Yeah, I do push to talk for that exact reason because mine does the same thing sometimes.
But right on. One more vignette before we leave. Alberth. As a servitor, now you are expected to do your normal like acts of grace. And so you like to knock them out every day if you have time that day, so that they don't pile up. And you are out, speaking to beggars and those most greatly in need, and kind of like calming disputes and generally being a peacemaker in the streets. When you feel an older call that. You've been a servitor for just a very short amount of time, but you've been a druid for a while now. And while it's not a strict requirement like your act of grace, you feel a certain draw to the wild places of the world, and you feel it now. And so already being at the city's edge, you take a quick break, head out the gates, and go to a nearby wooded spot. It's too small to truly be called a forest, but it's a place that brings Alberth comfort sometimes when he's been in the city for too long or in his own head about any problems. You're not sure if it's something about your druidic bond with nature or something about nature itself that is calming and centering, but you are walking your way along the edge of this forest when a fawn, a normally very suspicious and hesitant creature, gallops, I don't know if gallop is the right word, but sort of prances right up to you. And it gets closer than prey animals normally do, but it's nothing that Alberth is like unaccustomed to, because animals can kind of sense that Alberth is like a safe person to be around. This fawn, however, prances right up and stares directly at you. And while normally you have to utilize animal empathy to speak with an animal, it utilizes animal empathy and speaks to you. Just like you can say any words out loud, and if you're using animal empathy, they understand them intrinsically, this fawn kind of flicks its ears around and like gestures around, but you interpret it as if you would your own native tongue. And so what the kind of flickering and like looking around that it does to communicate with others of its kind, you immediately interpret as, are you Alberth the druid?
That was cool. Did I? Yes. Sorry. Yes, I am. Who are you, and how do you know me?
Oh, I was just sent here by Gawara. Come along. And it prances back into the forest in very, very Disney movie-like.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I prance also Disney movie-like.
You run into the forest, and coming into a clearing, you see a short woman, half goat, little satyr-like goat from the waist down, with like goat horns coming out of her head. It is a different face, but just like animal empathy causes you to instinctively understand what the fawn was telling you, you instinctively recognize this as Gawara. She has taken a different body during this return to the mortal world, but she is once again whole. And she stands up and says, Alberth, how's it been?
Been good. Well, we have a lot to catch up on.
Sure.
First of all, good new look. I like it. I didn't know. Wait, did I know that is something that happens, or is this the first time that I've seen her kind of reincarnate?
This is the first new body that you've seen. Yep.
Is that like a trick, or is this a new like semi-permanent?
Oh, it's just
new body thing.
It's the body that I'll have as long as I'm in the mortal world. I sort of exist separately than this in the Boggendmire, but when I come to your world, I have to sort of ride in on a different physical form. And the last one was killed, so I couldn't use it. So I'm using this one.
Killed?
Yeah. Don't even know what happened. Something dropped from the sky.
Jeez. That sounds intense.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're okay, I guess.
Yeah. Of course, I'm sure you noticed the moment I died, your symbiotic link was torn from you. Now,
yes.
There's a way you can get it back, but something's changed, and not just about me. I've reincarnated, and as soon as I did come back into the mortal world in a new body, or rather, once I returned to the Boggendmire and sufficiently recovered, I was able to. Most druids who had their like bonds with me had their symbiotic link returned to them. But when I returned to the Boggendmire, I realized that something had changed about you. When we first met, I gave you the powers of a symbiotic druid because of your friendship with Gunny. And you've developed a number of friendships since then. But even more recently than this, your strongest friendship was severed. And I'd like to give you that power of symbiotic link back and continue escalating you through the wild boons. I do think you show massive potential. But before I give you that boon back, I need you to demonstrate to me that you can earn the power of symbiosis. And as soon as you do, that link, that particular spell, will be returned to you. The moment I see you forge a strong enough, genuine connection with someone, that I am as impressed as I was when I saw you and Gunny. I'm sorry I don't have better, or at least more immediately good news. You understand?
I do. Thank you.
Of course. Now help me plant these, and you guys, just like you did the last time that she gave you a wild boon, plant a little field of flowers that she has brought to replant back into in here in the mortal world. You're not sure if like she brought the flowers from the Boggenmire, if they're like a source of magic, or she just plucked them from somewhere else and thought this was a better place for them. Alberth gets the sense that Gawara, or Gabby, uses has this internal sense for where something should be to complete a place, or complete like nature's goals in that place. If I can borrow from third-party content, a reference once again, it's like in Breath of the Wild, how you'll run into a mostly complete circle of stones, and so you're like, oh, I need to pick up this stone and fill in the circle of stones, and then one of those little forest spirits appears. It's like that. Anyways, Alberth helps Gawara plant the rest of this, and it is just about nightfall when Alberth finds his way back. You are looking forward to this stuff with the getting the gun processed and sold to more and more people. You're looking forward to being in business with Merigold. You've got this demon hunt coming up. You're excited. You're getting ready for that. But you get a strange sense of foreboding when you come to the door of the workshop, the second floor of which is your living quarters. Is there anything additional that you would do to prepare before you open this, or do you just open it and find out like what's got you feeling that
if
way?
I'm feeling something funky, I would... Sorry, I'm going through my spell list to see what the best thing to do would be. Oh, I don't have a lot of like attacky spells. I think I would just be ready. I do have ecdysis, which I still don't super understand, but when I use it on a demon, it kind of like reveals the weak spot, so I might like have that in mind kind of ready. And then probably like a hand crossbow that I've been working on, just like a super small thing that I keep on me. And I just kind of slowly open the door.
Yeah.
And do like a...
Yeah, like a rune
search.
clear.
Yeah.
Right on. You, gun in one hand, open your workshop door. You kind of arm along it. You push the door open. It had begun to rain while you were at the forest, and so there's the constant drizzling and thrumming of the rain across the flagstones and across the wooden roof of your workshop. And there is a loud squeaky... I don't know how well that's going to come through on Discord with sound cancellation, or the recording software with sound cancellation. It's very squeaky as you open it up, and there is a figure sitting in like a bench that's next to a workbench there's a very short figure sitting in it with a big polearm weapon across their back, and as lightning strikes, it illuminates the face of Vizier Kama waiting for you in your workshop.
No freaking way.
Alberth, we need to talk.
Yeah, we do.
And that's where we'll call it for today. Thanks for coming out, players. Thanks for coming out, audience. Thanks for your patience as we experiment with this new little gameplay mechanic with the game tokens. Find out next week what in the world is up with Vizier Kama. Isn't she dead? We'll find out. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next video. Bye. Right on. And we're out.